Julianna Pena has been in the news the last couple days for her trash talk on Amanda Nunes, who retired at UFC 289. And in today's video, I'm going to explain why I don't think it's going to end very well for Julianna Pena. And also, I think she's got the wrong strategy. We're going to talk about that right now. But let's first talk about some of the trash that she's been talking going into this. And we have a couple quotes here that Pena's saying. First off, that she wanted to storm the cage during Amanda Nunes' retirement. She's dead to me. You didn't do it, though. That's the thing. Like, if she had done this, this would have far more impact, but she didn't. It kind of loses a lot of luster if you said, oh, well, I was going to do this, but it didn't end up happening. So that's the first quote that sort of stood out. The second one here is the one where she says that I'm the greatest female fighter of all time. According to me, it's me. Pena told the MMA Hour on Monday. You want to know why? Because I'm not a fighter. I'm a warrior. I'm a warrior that lives inside. And there's a difference. Amanda's a fighter. I'm a warrior. I'm the greatest warrior. I'm the greatest fighter of all time. I believe that with my heart. I'll never stop coming. You're going to have to put me to sleep or knock me the F out to stop coming after you. Bet. Listen, some of this trash talk, I get. It's good. It makes sense, right? She has a win over Amanda Nunes. Nobody can take that away from her. She's one of the few women to actually finish Amanda Nunes in a fight. So I give her that. But Julianna Pena is kind of reminding me a bit of Pac-Man right now. Miss Pac-Man, I should say, to keep it politically correct here. Remember that old arcade game, right? Pac-Man walking around doing their thing. That's what Julianna Pena is right now. She's chasing a ghost. The fact that she keeps talking about Amanda Nunes here and trying to get some shine to me is just very confusing. Like, it's one thing to say that I beat Amanda Nunes. I'm the greatest fighter of all time. Now I'm going to clean up the rest of the division. But we haven't heard any of that. It's just been nonstop, obsessive, sort of mean talk to Amanda Nunes. And I just don't think that's going to go over very well with the fans. Like, look, Nunes, one thing I will agree with Pena is Pena talked about Nunes not being a draw. I do agree with that to a certain degree. But at the same time, Nunes isn't coming back. She's set. She's won the 2 titles. She's walking off into the sunset. She's has a family. There's all these different things. So for Pena to focus solely on Amanda Nunes, to me, is kind of a waste of time. And the other thing is, it's not even clever. Like, if you look at like Chael Sonnen or Colby Covington or any of these fighters, Chael going after Anderson Silva or some of the stuff that Colby Covington did, in there are some funny, some clever lines here. None of this is very clever here. Calling yourself a warrior instead of a fighter. Like, what is this? This sounds like something out of an 80s movie. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I lose it. Now, obviously, some of this is working with the fact I'm even doing a video on this. But just in my opinion, it just doesn't hold a lot of weight here. And the other thing is, Pena's last fight was against Amanda Nunes in a fight where she got absolutely beat down. I went and looked back to the scorecards for this, the media scorecards. I mean, look at this. Nobody gave, any sort of chance to Pena as far as the scorecards go. It was an absolutely dominant performance. I think Nunes could have finished this fight, by the way. I just think she wanted to prove a point by dragging Pena 5 rounds and just kind of showing her that, look, I'm the better fighter here. So there's that as well. The other thing I've seen that people keep bringing up is, MMA Joey, good buddy of mine, not discrediting him, but it's good if we disagree every now and then. This is MMA Joey's tweet, and I couldn't disagree more. MMA Joey had this tweet about Julianna Pena comparing her to Colby Covington. I'm going to read it here. Julianna Pena is the women's version of Colby Covington. She doesn't have a single win over somebody currently on the UFC roster, yet she insists she deserves a title shot and that she's some type of draw while being as cringy as possible in interviews. The only thing she has in common with Colby here is that she's mean to her opponents. Outside of that, there's a bunch of big differences between Colby Covington and Julianna Pena. First off, Julianna has the title shot for the most part, right? They were giving her this opportunity against Nunes. We know the fan reaction to that, the trilogy fight that was supposed to happen at UFC 289. People weren't about it. People didn't think Pena deserved to get a fight right away because of how badly she lost to Amanda Nunes. So there's that side of it. So she has the title shot potentially. With Nunes gone, you would think that Pena is going to be next in line. Colby doesn't have that. Colby has, kept himself relevant while barely fighting, and it appears that he will be getting the next title shot against Leon Edwards. So that's the difference. Colby had to do this to get himself a title shot. Pena, by all accounts, has the title shot. So to me, there's no reason for her to keep going after Amanda Nunes here. The thing that I also don't get here is that people, comparing Pena's, not being a draw to Colby. This is something that Joey's talking about here. I mean, taking a quick glance at some of her interviews, and again, this isn't the be-all, end-all with it, but, her interview yesterday on Ariel Helwani's show, which, by the way, they have 1 million subscribers, so you're going to get a lot of views regardless, but 51,000 views. That's actually pretty good. But look at Colby's, and we'll even go back a couple of years here, right? Like, we've got, obviously, Pena, 73K. You look at these views. I mean, to me, this is fan interest in certain fighters. That 309K view, that's actually Amanda Nunes, not Pena. 78K views, 37K views, 13K views. Okay, you get where I'm going with this. She's not really, she did get one video that got 160K views. Look at Colby Covington, though. This is the MMA Hour, this is a Submission Radio, who's got, way less subscribers than the MMA Hour. Look at this, 146K views, 256K views. 306K views. Like there's a huge difference here. And I think we all know this anyways. I'm just showing you some numbers here, but it's very clear that Colby Covington has a far bigger fan base than Julianna Pena. Like the only people I've seen complain about me talking about Julianna Pena are people calling me a misogynist because they're saying like, oh, if this was a man, you wouldn't say anything. I mean, I have. I've talked about this and with other fighters as well. Even Colby, I'd said he's crossed the line a number of times in some of the trash talk that he's done. So that's the difference between Colby Covington and Julianna Pena. Colby, in my opinion, is a far bigger draw than Julianna is. And Colby didn't have a title shot. Pena does, by all accounts. I know it's not confirmed, but I'm pretty sure Julianna Pena is going to be fighting for the vacant title next. And if you just look at Pena as well, she hasn't had a lot of success in the UFC outside of that Nunes win, right? She got the one Nunes win. Sarah McMahon, if you go back and watch that fight, McMahon had a lot of success early. Pena was able to finish her. Nico Montano, who had a cup of coffee basically in the UFC. I think people even forget that she was the flyweight champion. She got a win there. Kat Zingano, I think I want to say Zingano had the long layoff coming into that fight, if I'm not mistaken, when she fought Pena. Let me just double check that. 2015, yeah, she fought a year and a bit later. So she had a long layoff coming into that fight. Jessica Ai, kind of, 500 fighter. Duveda, Rakosi, who had, 2 UFC fights. So, I mean, as far as like who she's beat prior to that, Jeraine Durandamy finished her, Valentina finished her. Like these are fights that weren't competitive. Like, so that's not like Pena's talking about how she's the greatest of all time, but you fought good competition outside of Nunes and it hasn't gone so well. So that's kind of where I'm going with this, where I don't think this is going to age very well. Like she's building herself up to be this greatest of all time. And I get that. I understand the politics of it, but who do you think she beats right now in the top 5 rankings here? Raquel Pennington? I'm not so sure. Pennington's tough to finish. Again, if you look at a lot of Pena's wins, they're by stoppage, right? Nunes, McMahon, Duleva, Rakosi, these are all finishes. Pennington's pretty tough to finish, as is Holly Holm, and that's the thing. I think if you're Pena, that's the fighter you want to be targeting, not Amanda Nunes. Holly Holm, for God's sakes. Holm, I think, right now with Nunes gone, I think is the biggest draw in this division. She knocked out Ronda Rousey. Go look at her Instagram follows, all this different stuff. There's still interest in Holly Holm, and I think the UFC knows that. That's why they signed Holm to a long-term contract as Holm's in her 40s, right? So there's that. Ketlin Vieira is tough to take out. Irene Aldana, we saw Nunes go 5 rounds and beat the brakes off her and still couldn't finish Irene Aldana in that fight, right? So that's where I think it's not like a guarantee that Pena is going to be able to beat all these fighters here. So why put that extra pressure on yourself, especially when, by all accounts, you have a title shot next? That's all I'm saying here. And again, I know there's going to be people saying, well, obviously what she's doing is working because you're talking about it here. I get all that. But I'm just saying there's nothing funny or clever about her trash talk. And I think if anything, she's going to turn more fans away than have people want to tune in to that degree. And maybe it's a Colby Covington thing where people are going to want to watch her lose. That may happen here too. I just think this is not going to end very well. And I agree with Amanda Nunes. I don't think we're ever going to see Pena become champion again. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll gladly admit it if that does end up happening, but I just think that Julianna Pena right now is just having the wrong strategy here. Again, going after Nunes, not mentioning any other opponents as far as fighters in the division, because that's what the future for her is going to look like. The future is not going to include Amanda Nunes. So that's kind of where I'm going at with this. So I want to know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree, disagree. I always like hearing your feedback here as long as you guys are reasonable. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Lynch on Sports. I'm James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.